Alright, welcome to the SCL Racing Network, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carlin Hicks here from rainy Silverstone in North Hampshire, England, for the fourth and final round of the SCL Season 22 Formula One World Championship, the British Grand Prix. And it is the inaugural season of the Formula Ones here in SCL, here in Season 22, a quick little 4-round championship. We've seen a fantastic season so far. We saw Sir Race-A-Lot winning at Monaco, Tiernizzle winning at the U.S. Grand Prix at Watkins Glen, and at last week's Italian Grand Prix, Rosta took the points lead. He's currently holding that. We'll go through that in a second, but we do have rain in the forecast here today for this event. Of course, later on today, we'll be back at Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400 Winston Cup Series race, but let's take a quick tour of the track. I'll be leaving you to head down and get our race started, and then coming back to you after the start of the race. Once again, welcome to the SCL Racing Network. Glad to have you guys on board. Alright, get to the monitor as I said before. I'm going to take a look at the drivers we are tracking for the championship here in the final round of the SCL 22 Formula One World Championship, as Tiernizzle and HCC looking like they're having trouble, but we'll have to wait for it to play out. Right there in that car is Rosta. Rosta got his very first career points win in the SCL at last week's Italian Grand Prix. He had a great duel going on with Callie, who we'll be talking about in a minute. He's scored 16 points over his 2 finishes, including a win and a second. So he is currently the points leader and holds a bit of the edge coming in. Second place behind him, tied at 14 points, is Callie and Tiernizzle, but Callie holding the tiebreaker coming into this race. Callie, fantastic rookie driver, has yet to get in the victory circle in a points race this season, but he has scored 14 points in his 3 Formula One finishes. He holds a tiebreaker coming in. If he can win this race, he guarantees himself the championship. He is definitely in contention here. We're going to take a look at third, tied with 14 points right there, is Tiernizzle, the winner at the U.S. Grand Prix at Watkins Glen. He's the Camel GT champion on the North American Tour. And you know Tier has the speed. Now, he does have to overcome quite a few things. Number one has been hasn't performed as well in the wet so far this season, so that could work against him here today. But you know he has the speed to win the race. I think that one of the main things you're going to be looking to see is whether or not Tiernizzle can, even if he makes the pass and wins, he does not have the tiebreaker over Callie or Rosta. At best, I believe he could wind up tying, deadlocked across the board with Rosta, and we could have co-champions. It'll come down to tiebreakers, and if that indeed is the scenario, we'll try to handle that for you here in the broadcast as good as possible. Let me pull away from the track here for a moment and take a look at our Alright, Wanma trying to get in, but see if I can get him on the board here. You're going to have to hustle, Juan. I sent you a bunch of invites. Alright, well, hopefully he'll get in here. We'll get back to the track here, see how the qualifying is going so far. It looks like it's PT. Has taken the fastest lap here in the wet. PT won a couple poles in Camel GT this season. He won the Golden State 200 IndyCar race at Willow Springs when yours truly ran out of fuel earlier this season. He's definitely proven to be quick. The big question is finishing out races for him and staying out of trouble. That's going to be the key here, as they're down to less than 3 minutes as it looks like on the board now. We'll take a look here on the timing. It's PT holding the pole position over Tiernizzle, Cali, and Rosta, the three championship contenders, sitting 2, 3, 4 in qualifying. Rest of the field fighting it right now. Wreck Edge making his season debut in this series. Muttley ran a couple races ago. HCC's a stock car driver making a appearance over here. Officials made a couple of starts but has not yet finished a race with mechanical trouble. And Fresh White Tea, who has 2 top 5s in his 2 finishes, so he's classified in both of his races that he's appeared in. And then that's me in the SCL account, who is not in the race. We'll see if Wanma can get into this room in time. Alright folks, well, I'm going to head down to the track. I'm going to keep the broadcast going, but I need to do the pre-race drivers meeting and then the start of the race. And then once they've taken the clean start and we're green to go, I will be joining you guys back in the booth. So hang tight with us here on the SCL Racing Network. Hey, Twindy. Yeah, hang tight. I got to jump in there real quick, and then I'll tell you everything that's going on. If you want, take a look at the points table just to get familiar with it and where they're standing going in. I'll be right back. Hey, Twindy, would you jump to the game chat real quick? You got me? Guys, Jock UT. You in here, Twindy? snapshot here of your order. Hold tight for a second for me, folks. I'm gonna start the driver's meeting here in a second. I just got to line up with the other official. You with me, Twindy? You with me, Twindy? Mic check. Twindy, you here? Okay, all right. Well, here's what's got to happen. They just got to do the drivers' meeting. They basically do. It's a clean start rule. They do the jump off. Once they've made one lap, then it's green to the finish, barring a red flag. There's you can have up to one restart if there's a problem on the first lap. So that basically means that with two of us, one official can stay in the booth, one official can monitor the start, and then once they've made the clean start, can jump up into the booth. So do you want to man the broadcast or man the clean start? You'll hop up here. Okay, so let's go down into the meeting, and you'll get the explanation the specification same time they do. All right. All right, so let's go down there. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Got on the same page. All right. Go ahead and get you guys going now. Welcome. This is round 4 of the SCL 22 Formula One World Championship, British Grand Prix. It's the last round. So we've got 32 laps plus 2 on the board for the initial start. And I'm going to give you guys the rundown as follows. In the qualifying order, what's going to happen is you're going to roll out on that first lap. On the first lap around, come in, make your pit stop. Everybody gets to pit, take on your tires, take on your fuel, whatever you're wanting to do. Then when you roll out of the pit, that second lap, you'll come around and you'll take your spots on the grid. Now we are doing the start manually ourselves. So, get an idea for where your grid spot is as you're rolling out. The leader will come take his spot, and you guys will stack up accordingly in your positions. One of the officials, Twindy's going to be in here manning the start for you guys. So here's what's going to happen. When you guys are all in position and he's satisfied that you're held in your lines, he's going to give you 3 commands. And the commands to the leader, which in this case is PT. He's going to keep telling you holding, holding, and then when he says starter, that means the leader needs to get ready. And when he says clear, when the command clear is given, the starter has 3 to 5. Make the start within 3 to 5 seconds. So basically, if you're the leader, when you hear clear, decide beforehand whether you're going to go on 3, 4, or 5. And when you hear clear, if you decided you're going to go on 3, then as soon as you hear clear, go 1, 2, 3, and launch. But the leader can go at whatever time in that 3 to 5 that he wants. For the rest of the field, all you guys got to do is watch the leader. When you see them launch, you can go. So basically, you're going to hear the official say, starter, clear, and then once he says clear, you're just watching for the leader to take off. When the leader launches, everybody can go. We do use the international tour rules for cautions and all that here, which means that we do have one wave off on the start, which means once we've completed one clean lap on that first start, then we're green to the finish, barring a red flag. Unless we have to red flag the race for some reason, you're green to the finish at that point. If there is a problem on the start or on the first lap,
wreck between cars, then the official will red flag it. You'll come back around, no pit stop, and go right back to your places on the starting grid in your original starting position. That will only be done once. If it's done on the second restart from the grid, you're stuck with what you got. So basically just keep that first lap clean. We won't have to do it. And other than that, you're green to go. And we'll be up in the booth just monitoring you guys. If we have any, the track limits are keep 2 wheels on over the rumble strips at all times. You make a mistake or slide and cut through by accident, if you cut through a runoff area to avoid spinning and wrecking, that's fine. Just don't gain any time or position on it. If we see you, jump, we've got the board up as we're doing the broadcast. We see you gain 4 seconds on the guy in front of you for something like that, then we might, the other official might send a message that's on the active driver speed. And in this room, we've got Tiernizzle's been helping us out, marshalling in these races. I'd put Callie in that field as well. If you guys see one of those from one of the officials, then you let them know that. We'll either tell them they need to drive through, or more than likely just a warning. But as long as you guys don't egregiously cut corners, we're not real nitpicky. If you're trying to keep 2 wheels on and one corner you overshoot it a little and maybe you're 6 inches over, we're not going to nitpick you for it, but just don't make it a habit. And if you're really gaining time on it, we'll see it on the board. Other than that, you guys are green for the whole 32 playing laps. As we said before, the championship's on the line, but everybody just try to finish the race and have a good time with it. We got the Brickyard 400 later today in the Cup Series. You got anything to add, Twindy? Yeah, if we see that, obviously you came back on, you eased up a little, certainly didn't gain a position on anybody, then that's fine. As long as we don't see you abusing it. We don't like to throw those penalties. So just, keep it as clean as you can. All right, well, I'm going to be jumping up into the booth. Twindy's going to be handling you guys on the start here. And then once he clears you guys after the clean start and you're green to go, then he'll be jumping in the booth and we'll just be watching. So you guys are on the network, on YouTube, watch it later. Good luck, especially to Tiernizzle, Callie, and Rosta going for the championship. The rest of you try to steal the show. I'm going to go ahead and jump in the booth, and then I'm going to hit the start button. So good luck, guys, and Twindy, it's your room until then.
Alright guys, I'm back with you here as we're just about to get started in the British Grand Prix. As you can see by the qualifying there, it's PT taking the pole. It is wet here at the start of this race. We know the rain is supposed to slow down. The top 3 championship contenders heading into this race coming in: Tiernizzle, Callie, and Rosta qualifying 2, 3, and 4. Muttley with a great run going in 5th. You can see the big gap, but a lot of that was guys not getting a clean lap and qualifying in the wet. But that's going to be the story here, is those drivers, and let's let them get going. They're going to be making their mandatory stop here. Everybody's going to be readying up. Big story here, we know Tiernizzle, Camel GT champion, took 6 wins in that series. We know he's got great speed. He's already won in Watkins Glen in this series earlier this season. He's had some trouble in the wet, but I think he's definitely going to be a contender. Callie came on. He's hungry for a win, was dead even with Rosta. It was really on a pit strategy that Rosta took the win at the Italian Grand Prix last week, along with some terrific pace. That was his first points win in the SCL, and he's the current points leader and knows that all he has to do is finish ahead of the other 2, and he's guaranteed the championship. Muttley, really a surprise for the Aussie driver. This is the second time we've seen him here in this series, and he comes in and qualifies 5th, but the rain is the great equalizer. You know, we got a stock car driver popping in. We got a very different look for the international tour. Go. Alright, getting us back on board. Going to give you the map. Now I will apologize to our European, especially our Brit drivers. I am not familiar with all the corner names here at Silverstone. SCL's long run a primarily North American based tour, and I'm not super familiar with the corner names, although I have driven the track plenty of times, and I'm sure I'll stand corrected. Any of you guys got comments, questions for the broadcast, you can, you're watching here on the PlayStation Network feed, you can chime in for me if you'd like. There's our pole sitter, it's PT. We'll answer your questions as we go on here in the broadcast. We'll have Twindy joining us here shortly. He's down in the infield directing the race. As you can see, the rain is absolutely out there. It's a light rain, but it's puddled very heavily here at Silverstone, and we're going to see that could be the great equalizer. As we said, the main 3 championship contenders, 16, 14 in points. Tiernizzle, Cali, Roast at 2, 3, 4, right behind the pole sitter. It's PT. Fantastic season so far in the SCL. As we're winding down, the next couple weeks we'll close out season 22, our first on PS4 and the Project Cars 2 game. Can't say enough for some of the great drivers we've had this season. Our veterans coming in, our new drivers for a league that's been around as long as we have. It's been a real pleasure. Yours truly was lucky enough to capture the Trans Am Series Championship this season. My good friend Cold was able to win the IndyCar Series Championship for us. And Tiernizzle right here in the field was your Camel GT champion. We've got the Winston Cup Championship yet to be decided, but Hossack can actually clinch it today at the Brickyard 400 with a solid finish. So we may see 2 more champions crowned today, and that would be the last 2 here of season 22. So it's been one heck of a season. Got these guys making their pit stop. Let's see if we can get a view of it here from the chase cam. Go down the list a little bit. Fresh white tee, a pair of top 5s in his 2 finishes here in this series. Cannot say enough about how well he's done for having very little experience in this league, and he's just starting to get the hang of it. They're going to be coming around to their standing start this time by. At the last couple in the pits, him and Official coming out behind him at race speed, and we're gonna stay on board here in the back at the start, try to get a view through the field, but meanwhile get a cockpit view here from It's PT as they're coming around. He's won quite a few poles this season, a couple in Camel GT and one in IndyCar, I believe. He's been finishing races for PT. Gets himself into trouble sometimes, but make no mistake about it, he's a terrific talent. I hope he sticks around. And capturing a pole here in the wet in the Formula One World Championship in its inaugural season here in the SCL is nothing to shake a stick at. Behind him, that's in the Jancone car, that is It's PT. There's Tiernizzle, and they are going to be coming to the grid here. Let's get in my favorite onboard camera, chase cam, as they'll be getting closer to the grid. Get behind them here and see how they're starting to line up on board with the championship leader Rosta. Forgive the overlay there on the bottom, but that comes in as it is. You can see the puddling already starting, and that's really going to be a big factor here. I think the guys that don't use their traction control, their stability control correctly on these spec cars, you know, may have trouble. You know, it's not a car that you could tune out some of that. You're dealing with, you know, spec suspension, so you need to swallow your pride, use whatever you can in a field that's this competitive and this quick. So we're really going to have to see if we have to have a red flag and a restart. I think probably a 50-50 bet here that that's a distinct possibility, as they are coming down through the final section of turns, getting ready to head onto the front stretch for the standing start of the SCL 22 British Grand Prix, the fourth and final round of the Formula One World Championship. Our three winners were Sir Ray Salad at Monaco, Tiernizzle at Watkins Glen in the U.S. Grand Prix, and at Monza last week it was Rosta. We're going to go towards the back of our field here with fresh white tee, so that we can hopefully get a view through the field, as he will be starting ninth and shotgun on our 9-car field here in our final championship race. We will be crowning the inaugural SCL Formula One World Champion here today in season 22. This is the first race of that series. It looks like it's fairly dry here on the front stretch. Can't complain too much. It is fairly dry. Doesn't look too bad on the front stretch. And we got to go. Fresh didn't get the command quickly enough, but we're going to go ahead and jump on board up front, as here we are. Getting to the chase cam. Somebody's already around. I'm wondering if we're going to have a waved off red flag here. Is that Rosta who went around? I'm not really sure. Wreck edge perhaps. Let's see if these guys can settle in. We'll get on board here where it's starting to settle out. Rosta settling back into 5th place. There's the tight battle there as 3rd place Cali tries to chase down Tiernizzle. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the corner names as I should be as a broadcaster. I will get better at that. My European friends, once I broadcast more of these international tour races, so I'm going to refer to the track by the map there as Tiernizzle goes outside and off the track. And he's going to have Muttley on top of him here in a heartbeat. So I will refer to it north, south, east, west, as you can see on the map there, as they're coming through the northeast section now, heading south, heading through the S's here. Tiernizzle trying to settle back in and run Cali back down. It's Rosta back in 5th, 5 seconds back. I think if they clear this first lap and in fact get the green to go, it's going to be key just to be patient. You know, it's 32 laps, 34 on the board as you guys read it. Lap 3 is the first green lap, as we have, I believe Cali just went off track, as these guys are struggling. They're all obviously in the wet tires, but both of them giving time back to each other, as here comes a surprising Muttley moving in on Cali. Muttley, the Aussie driver, veteran racer but new to the SCL, and he is reeling in Cali here and pressuring him pretty good. Not getting much of a sight there as Rosta's right behind them. Let's see if we can get back on the track side, as its PT has opened up a gap. Looking at 3rd place in your screen there, Cali. He's got Muttley close behind him, Rosta close behind him, trying to get a view where the spray is not hurting us too bad. Should have Twindy back here in the booth here momentarily. And they are right on top of each other. Ooh, as Rosta spins it around in the northwest corner here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turn 6 complex. And that's going to put him well behind as HCC passes him. We'll get back on board here with Muttley. if we can get a good view here of what he's seeing. You can see what they're seeing, the spray. That's Muttley in fourth, trying to chase down Callie and Tier right in front of him with its PT. Checking out, he's over 8 seconds out. Rosta, meanwhile, back in sixth, needs to gather himself together. Big call here will be when the track starts to, do they need to stop for fuel? Probably not. Will they need to stop for tires? If the track dries, almost certainly. And it is scheduled to stop raining at some point in this race. So that's going to definitely be interesting to see. And Muttley just showing great pace. As I said, he has not have, I believe he has 1 or 2 top 5 finishes this season across all series, and been slowly showing the growth. And right here, you can see it certainly as he's picking up time and staying right there with Callie and Tier, who are now fairly close to each other within 2 seconds. And that is a battle for the World Championship. As they sit, Tier Nizzle would be your Formula One World Champion, but let's give some time up here up front to your pole sitter and leader. It's PT. He's opened up a 9-second lead over Tier Nizzle here in the first few laps. Now, PT, as I said before, has fantastic speed. Very, very quick. The question is, can he hold it together? I can speak from personal experience. I was in a similar situation with him just a few rounds ago, the Camel GT Series at Sonoma. He had a lead of this similar to the rest of us. He was starting up front and took off pretty early, and gave some time back, and I was able to get by him and go on to win the race. So it's really whether he can hang on to this early lead, whether he can make the right pit strategy call and all that. As I said, he did win at Willow Springs in the IndyCars this season, so let's see what we can get. He's had some fantastic runs this season, and this might be his time to shine as he is just opening up that lead. Trying to keep our eyes here on your leaders. There's Twindy. Make sure you crank your mic there, Twindy, for the broadcast.
It should be it should be high enough. But yeah, no, it looks like he's the only one really enjoying the rain out there.
Yeah, I can see some of the struggles here. We're on board with Rosta, who's had an off early, but as you can see, still not that far behind, only 8 seconds behind Tier. Rosta really just needs to close in on them. It's basically a battle between the three of them. But why don't you give us your impressions there at the start, Twindy? You were watching it very closely.
From everything I saw, it looked pretty clean. The only thing that I wasn't sure of is it looked like 2 cars went off in turn 1 or 2. Couldn't tell if they got tangled together or not, or if it was 2 separate incidents. But
ultimately decided to let him go.
Yeah, it went pretty much as expected.
Ooh, that's the first little mistake I've seen out of Muttley. He's really been the surprise here early on. Qualified 5th. He's running right there in 4th. Rookie driver. Experienced driver, but a rookie in the SCL from down under in Australia. And he's really putting on a show here right now. He's definitely looking pretty good. As Rosta's got by HCC. There's HCC stock car driver running in a Jancone mobile car, the corporate teammate of its PT. And then you're starting to see a gap. Wreck Edge back in 7th there, 47 seconds back. Had a spin early on, I'm pretty sure, right on the first couple turns. He's in the triple V car, and he goes off into the runoff there as well. Then we have Official, who's already in danger of getting close to a lap back.
Fresh White Tea seems to be struggling a lot. PT just lapped him. I have a strong feeling that a lot of these cars in the back didn't take advantage of the driving aids.
Absolutely, they were told, and they probably should have. As you can see him struggling, he used his reset button there, which would get him penalized, but I think he's just trying to get out of the way of the cars, which I can't necessarily blame him for. But he is way back and definitely having problems with that car, trying to get it rolling. Let's meanwhile get back up into the fight. We've got Rosta going to get back on board with the chase cam with Rosta as he's coming up on 4th place Muttley. He definitely needs to get by Muttley if he can, get back in contact with Tiernizzle and Callie, who he's racing for the championship. And it looks like Fresh White T's had enough, and he has parked the car. Looks like he's retiring from the race, and that's going to leave us 8 now on lap 7 of 34. Can't really see much yet till the rain stops, but as you can see, the spray up there coming through the boot here in the northwest corner. Muttley going a little wide, and Rosta's got to be patient, but he definitely does not want to let Tiernizzle and Callie get any more time on him. He's got to line up and take Muttley down as quickly as possible, but Muttley is driving out of his boots right now. As we'll get onto the trackside cam with Muttley and see if we can see this fight from another angle. They're still within about a second of each other on the track.
Yeah, Rosta ran a little bit wide there, had to pedal it real hard.
Yeah, Rosta, that's his story right now. It's still early, but I'd be watching the gap if I was him. Right now, he's at 11 seconds. If that keeps from Tiernizzle, if that keeps growing, then I would start thinking about getting more aggressive or trying to pull something out. Maybe even if you know you're going to have to stop, make that stop, because you don't want to. If it's steady though, if you're not losing any time, then you got to remember it's wet out there. If you can see, it doesn't hurt you to run in the wake of another car because they're drying the track for you. So if that gap can stay steady, and right now it's growing slowly, I don't know that he's going to start getting antsy as we're going to jump up here, give the leader some face time again. He is tearing it up his last lap there. We'll jump on the timings here real quick and see who our fastest race lap is. As it stands, PT 150.6, nearly a second faster than the rest of the field. Tiernizzle has one lap in there that's approaching it, but it's obviously been PT who's been the rainmaster so far.
Yeah, Tiernizzle just put that lap up, closed the gap a little bit, ran a little bit over a second faster than PT, but PT just had a bad lap in my imagination,
Yeah, he's definitely tearing it up right now. As we've said before, I said at the beginning of the broadcast, with PT, it's can he wrap it up? That's the thing. He's quick, but track conditions are going to change here. Maybe some of the guys will get wise and make changes to their car. Stiffen the roll bars up, lay off the curves in the wrong place, and you might see him start closing in. As of right now, Tiernizzle's putting himself in a very good position as he's ahead of Callie by 8 seconds. We're going to jump back to Tiernizzle. He's opened that lead up, and that puts him in the championship position right now. Provided that it stays where it's at. If Rosta can get by Callie in this position and they finish 2-3, they would be tied. So definitely scoreboard watching at this point, as it looks like Rosta's getting close to Muttley again here. Let's get on the chase cam, my favorite way to watch these. He swings a little wide. He's definitely thinking about it. He knows he's got to get up into at least that third position. And as I said, it's still early, 25 laps to go from here, so who knows what we'll see. Here he goes, and I believe he's got it. Oh, Muttley comes back. There's a little bit of contact. I don't think Muttley could see where he was at there as Muttley regained the track. And Rosta's got to line it back up again. Two of them coming through that very, very tight hairpin. And Rosta making contact there with Muttley, but they were able to straighten it out, hang on to it. Now Rosta's just got to stay calm and try to reel him back in.
Looks like that was handled pretty questionable by him. He went way off and then tried to rejoin the track when Rosta obviously was by him by a decent amount and just hit him right in the side, but they held on to it. So
yeah, I believe Muttley's more at fault there. I don't think Muttley knew where he was at because he stayed fairly deep into the corner before he tried to get back on the track, and I think he didn't see him and then went ahead and took it. But yeah, he's definitely
definitely a little more of him initiating the contact, but this doesn't have to be a big thing if he can pick it back up. He's lost a lot of time to Tier, who has opened it back up now. Tier now over 20 seconds in front. But with Tier's record in the wet this season, you can't just estimate he's going to be able to hang on to that. He's had his problems in the rain.
I think he wised up a little bit for this race, though, with his selection of, his driving aids. But it looks like he's starting to get the hang of it, because he put up a lap way faster than PT that last lap.
Tier Nizzle might be trying to reel. Now, this is what I'm looking for at this point in the race, and I'll get back on the trackside cam here with your race leader, PT, so he can earn himself some more airtime. The trick is here, when he sees those numbers popping up on the board, can he keep his cool? It's very early in this race. We can see the rain is stopping.
Yeah, I was about to say, I do believe the rain has stopped, so the track is drying now, so things could get interesting real fast. Yeah, the question's going to be who makes that pit call, who makes that call and when, and who makes, do they make the right call? Do they put on the, does somebody say, screw it, I can run the wets on a drying track and not make a pit stop? If I was needing to make up time like a Rosta, I might think about that. But as of right now, the big thing as far as for this race, and not, obviously a championship race, we spend a lot of time focusing on the championship contenders, but for this race, PT's got to maintain his cool. He's got to realize that, it doesn't matter whether you win by an inch or a mile. You've got to, to quote a very, very crappy movie, it just matters where you're at the end. And as Twindy and I can both attest to, having raced many times, there's many times you got a guy behind you 5 or 6 seconds, he's gaining on you slightly, and just calm down and say, all right, he's catching, he's got a slight edge, so I'm going to try to save my stuff, and when he gets here I'll have something for him. Me and Twindy have done that to each other back to back at various points in various cars, so that's what I think PT needs to be thinking. You don't have to worry about wearing the tires out, wearing anything else out here as he gets around a lap car. I believe that's Wreck Edge. No, it's not. It's okay, it's official. Official again? Yeah. Well, not for the first time, maybe.
Yeah, that's the second time he's gone down. But that's really going to be the key, just being patient, staying where he's at, knowing that it's, only a third of the way through this race right now. It's still very early. Not to get complacent as to where you're at, as we're going to put some camera time here on Tier Nizzle, who, as you've seen, picked it up. His fastest lap is now, 3.5, 4 seconds quicker than the guys behind him. Him and PT are in a class of their own, and if that's the case, then Tier Nizzle's going to win a world championship.
Is drying a lot, and when I noticed it stopped raining, he picked up a decent amount. So there's a lot of dry spots around this track right now, and I expect to see a lot of paces start to pick up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and ride on board the cockpit camera and give actually the chase cam, and let Tier Nizzle take us around here. Goes through turn 1 and 2. Going to make this sharp right, which is, if you're having trouble in the wet, this is where you're going to feel it. This is my toughest corner on this track, and he's just maintaining grip beautifully, so having no trouble with the puddle there, taking it nice and easy wide, and that's how he's opening up that gap. Now Callie also getting faster, up to 151.3. I think it's really who's going to make that call? That's going to be the big question. Tier Nizzle's being patient, though. He knows he's in a championship position, and I don't think he's pushing too hard.
Yeah, if I was these championship guys, I wouldn't think about putting the slicks on until it was 100. Ooh, big moment there by Tier. Until it was completely dry, because you can run very competitive with wet tires on a dry track here. So,
might hang on until
put on the slicks. Wait until it's completely dry. Don't risk it.
As long as your lap times are dropping, stay on them. If your tires start heating up, real bad, then maybe that's the time to go. You can see him being very smart. He's trying to use the wake of the lap car. He's coming up on official, letting him know he's there. Goes inside him, official, doing a very good job getting out of the way. Now we'll go back to Cali here. Give him some trackside time. Cali running in third. He's now 20 seconds behind Tier. Cali knows he's in a head-to-head battle with Tier. And Rosta having gotten by Muttley. Let's jump on board with Muttley and see what's going on in this battle, because apparently missed that pass as Rosta moves in closer. But as it stands, Tier Nizzle would be the champion outright. So Rosta's moving in, but with that much of a gap, still a lot can happen. But Rosta with a best lap time that's well below the pace at this point. He's going to have to pull something out to get up there. But 153, not a bad lap. I mean, Muttley's in that range. They're both running solidly enough to be in the top 5, but the top 2 drivers and then Cali, I believe, is moving towards that, or in a class of their own. This is our closest battle on the track, as Muttley running in 5th, trying to chase down Rosta. I believe Rosta's got the pace on him, especially as the track dries. Muttley was obviously terrific in the wet. Qualified really well and was running with those leaders, but as the track's dried, he started to lose some time. And Rosta's starting to try to reel in Cali just a little bit by bit, although he's not quite there yet. He's stopping the bleeding.
Yeah, and if Rosta were to get up to Cali, that would set every statistic as a tie, so that would be a real interesting way to wrap things up, but still a lot of time left and a lot of time for error.
Well, that is the interesting thing, and I will say that is the, as it stands, Tier Nizzle 2 points behind Rosta. If he were to finish 1 position ahead of Rosta, they'd be tied in points. Now, key there is whether or not he gains an additional tiebreaker. Like, for example, there's 2 points between 3rd and 4th, but if Tier was 3rd and Rosta 4th, then he would have the tiebreaker based on an extra podium finish. However, you're right. If Rosta can chop that 14-second lead down and get by Cali, they're both getting another podium. They're both getting another top 5. They'd have an equal number of wins. They'd have all that. They would actually be deadlocked and would tie for the championship. We'd have Formula One co-champions if that was the case. So that's a very interesting scenario here if he can run down Cali. But as we'll jump back on here with Cali, Cali is starting to, he's put up consistent 150s now, but as he's doing that, Tier Nizzle's starting to really pick up the lap times.
Tier Nizzle put up a real fast lap there the last time by, 46.1. Starting to really chop it down, over a second faster than PT's fastest lap. So things can get interesting in a hurry here.
Yeah, we'll have to see. They're basically on a default tire setting. They're back on board with Rosta.
Tier Nizzle's basically got one thing here. If he can win this race, it's his. So no matter what happens behind him.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's exactly what he's thinking. He's just opened that gap. He's 27 seconds ahead of Cali now, and there's a big gap between them. It's starting to become more interesting as to whether Tier can reel in PT, but PT's picking up his pace. He just ran in the 147s, and you got to understand too that despite the fact that Tier just ran a 146 flat, he's 10 seconds, 9 seconds back because he's not running that every time. So if PT can stay consistent, he may be able to stem the bleeding. But we're on lap 15 of 34. Have not seen anybody hit the pits yet. Check back in here with our leader, who's coming down the backstretch.
I think it's almost time that they could start thinking about it. There's a couple spots that I'd worry about, you know, putting those slicks on. But for the most part, the track is really dry. There's just a couple worrying puddles, so definitely waiting to see who takes the first move.
As long as I'm hitting a corner that's doing that, that's seeing the rooster tails come up heading into a corner, I'm not comfortable in slicks. That's me personally. I know there's some other drivers who are more familiar with racing in the rain, but I surprised myself. I mean, Watkins Glen was wet in the IndyCar, so you never know. As we saw, Muttley was terrific. We're going to get back on with him because he is right on.
He's
right on the tail of Rosta. Muttley just, you see, you got sections like that that make you not want to put a set of dry tires on.
Yeah, but the more they run in it, the more it's going to dry up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. As here he comes.
At 1:45.5.
Yeah, he is chopping down. He's within 7 seconds now of its PT. Tier might be trying to put his stranglehold on this championship. Let's see how patient. Muttley is showing a lot of patience. He's not getting back on the throttle too early when he's chasing him. Rosta knows that his only chance is to get 20 seconds here on Cali, and that's what's got to be in his mind. But he has a rear view mirror full of Muttley, and we have one diving in. We've got Rosta.
Looks like Rosta's taking the risk, because that's the easiest way to put that at the moment. That's a big risk.
I think that he has to do something, and that's what he's thinking. He's got a car that has surprised him and hung with him and slowed him down. He's definitely lost time racing with Muttley, and he's definitely lost time racing with Muttley, and he's got the most. He's got very little to lose and a lot to gain. Let's see if he has a quick pit stop. That's going to be key here. Last week, Petrolhead did not have a quick pit stop. Rosta hanging on to it. That's going to be tough for everybody coming out of the pits, especially if he is on slicks. And I don't know if it's going to show us. It's going to show us that he's still on rain tires, but I'm willing to bet you 100 to 1 that he's on slicks.
With how it spun when he was leaving the pit stall, he definitely just put on slicks. Especially with how he just spun the car, he is definitely on slicks.
Yeah, that might be that might be too early. But you don't know. We'll have to see. He's making a gamble. Maybe he gets some heat in the tires, and something good happens. He is struggling now.
That straightaway is still way too wet for that.
And I think Rosta's probably cursing in that cockpit right about now. Anybody else who is watching the sheet, yeah, he is struggling. He might even come back in and put on wets. You hate to see that for the guy. He's been terrific all season. He got his first win last week at Monza, but he made that call. I can't blame him. I
did the same thing back in the Monaco race,
Yeah.
I wasn't in the race just to be in it, and I decided to be the one to risk it. I know what he's feeling right now.
Yeah, that I feel for him. He made the only gamble that he thought he could make and win the race, and you hate to see that. But regardless of that, I hope he watches this and hears us say he's had a great season in this series. He's really been solid through all the races. As you can see, him struggling there to hang on to that. Let's get back into where we've got some action on the track. Tiernizl is now
really closing it in.
He is still on his wets, and he is chopping down. Make a real quick look at. No, Rosta did not take on fuel, but he is chopping down its PT and making this championship a moot point at this point if he can get by PT. Let's see if he over pushes it, though. As of right now, I don't see him doing that.
Looks like a mistake by PT.
Trying to hit the
map.
map.
A little bit wide.
Shit.
It's down to a second. And
he is right on top of him. He is right on top of him, having chopped down that 15-second lead.
The PT made a mistake getting into those corners there. Check out some billboards.
We're halfway through this race right about now. We got 16 laps to go at the line. PT's got to be patient here. Just hang on. Even if Tiernissel gets by you, it's by no means over. Tiernissel's using his DRS, obviously. I don't know that PT's doing that. I can't see it. Yeah, they both are. So they're both on it, which is dangerous. I mean, you got to say, in conditions like this, I wouldn't be using the DRS. Now, maybe that could be one of the reasons why Tiernissel and PT's laps are that much quicker than the rest of the field. Not just that they're fast, but that they're probably taking chances with the curves and the DRS that other drivers aren't. You know, that could be a big thing.
I'm pretty sure Callie's been using it. He's just been a little bit more sparing. Callie's doing what a lot of his teammates do, very consistent. It may not be the fastest, but he'll run the same lap time 5-10 laps in a row. So
absolutely,
he's hoping consistently pays off here.
Callie's a talent that is coming on. His day is coming, and I really believe he's an SCL driver through and through. He's done nothing but get better all season, and he's got nerve. He reminds me of Tony Moose. He's got nerves of steel out there in the pressure situations. He would have had a real good shot at winning last week at Monza if it hadn't been for he made the wrong pit call. He changed tires about 3 laps later than Rosta, and that was all it took to put Rosta well out in front. But right here on this straightaway, this is the one that got Rosta out. It's a tremendous amount of water through that stretch, the first complex.
I don't see anyone else thinking about putting on slicks while it still looks like that down that straightaway. That is real dangerous there, and you can't avoid those because they're everywhere. All the puddles, you know. There's not a single line that could make it through there.
Damn it. Map. Fucking hitting the wrong buttons, trying to hit timings. There we go. Yeah,
Cal making the move. PT ran a little bit wide.
There he goes. Does he have enough to come back? PT's back on the inside. He doesn't want to wreck a championship contender, but he's far enough ahead to where I wouldn't be too worried about it. I'd be like, hey, you got enough of a lead. But Tiernissel does in fact take the lead. Now let's see if he can pull away. Now this is the litmus test for its PT. This is where we see whether he can keep his cool. Rumors have him being
a little bit soon there.
Yeah, rumors have him being signed up by a major team for next season. Let's see if he can keep his cool. And I think
he's going back to the inside.
Oh, made a smart move right there. Excellent job by PT. But he's right on top of Tier.
I didn't think he was going to give him the room. I thought he was just going to keep the line there. Looks like he's definitely smartening up a little bit. I think earlier on in the season, he just would have kept his line there.
And the truth of the matter is there too that wouldn't have been on him. You know, he was still on the track. You know, he gave giving Tiernissel room there was courtesy, because he had the right to keep his line, but he knew if he didn't, there was going to be a wreck, and he played it smart. So I give him all the credit in the world. And Tiernissel probably needs to tip his helmet to him. But that's what racing in these conditions is like. Now here's where you got to see PT just calm down and try to stay settled, because one little hitch up here in these last 14 laps is a long way to go, and Tiernissel can be right back on him.
You know, he just needs to run as consistent as he can and just kind of keep touch, you know. He doesn't have to try to make it all up in a couple of these corners. Just see if he can make it, even though it looks like what he's trying to do, but
you just got to stay cool.
He's got to run consistent.
Tiernissel's coming up on, there are 2 lap cars not too far in front, so he is going to definitely have that to deal with as we head down the wire here. He's opened up to 2 seconds, but like I said, as long as he's within the distance of a spin, which I'd say is what, 10-15 seconds, then this is by no means over. And I think the rest of these guys are going to stay out. Rosta, you feel for him, he made that gamble, but he made a gamble last week that paid off and won him the race, but he was last week's pole sitter. You know, he was just terrific from start to finish last week. PT just got to reel it in, stay calm. But what can you say about Tier? He's been a fantastic driver all season. Camel GT champion, Indianapolis 500 champion.
He's been fantastic on the road courses. He won the United States Grand Prix at Watkins Glen in this series. If he can hang on here, it'd be his second win in the series and the inaugural Formula One World Championship for the SCL, which is a series that is just going to grow. And I think this says a lot because, like we said, he had trouble in the wet earlier this season when the rains came, and this is a statement race for Tiernizzle. Definitely a statement race.
Yeah. Well, the lap cars looks like they're coming up on her. It's Roasted and Muttley. You gotta really think how much is Roasted gonna fight here.
I think Roasted knows at this point he's in a blue flag situation. He's not going to make anything up here. He's a lap down, barring a catastrophic red flag, which is not going to happen. There's no way he can catch up. I think Roaster realizes his goose is roasted, no pun intended. But we'll see how it goes here.
Think, though, especially with the whole, just because of the, I totally lost my train of thought there.
Just because of the championship, you never know how a driver's gonna handle it. Let's see, is that where we're looking right now? No, Roaster's not.
Picked out the wrong person.
Yeah, it wasn't Roaster. Who is that directly in front of him? It's a yellow car. I believe that's Wreckage. No, he's coming up on somebody.
Muttley's the next car they're coming up on, though. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, there's Muttley.
It's here looking to the inside of him.
Ooh, somebody's going around there.
Roaster
went around.
That straightaway still.
Muttley, meanwhile, I mean, I just have to say, I can't say enough, as we've got HCC making a pit stop. We'll jump on board with him. As he's going to make a splash.
That's a mistake. He definitely just missed his pit stall, though. I think. Oh no, he didn't.
No, he's in there. If he's going to slicks, and we can't see it here on the camera, but I think it may be a mistake to hit slicks. But I figure he might just be giving it a shot.
Well, we'll see find out real quick when he tries to leave the pit stall.
We'll find out when he comes out exactly. Now Muttley, meanwhile, not far behind Tier. Tier's open through. He's 4.4 seconds. Here comes.
Slicks.
Yeah, here comes. It's PT going to try to get by Muttley. He does, but can't say enough for Muttley. Going to get a, hang on here for the next 12 laps. He can get a top 4 finish, classification finish in a Formula One race. Just an excellent sign of improvement at the end of the season. He was struggling earlier in the season in all the series he was running, but it's been pretty solid. As he's catching up, PT's catching up now to Muttley, who's directly in front of him.
Yeah, HCC is realizing right now that definitely was a mistake. He's going down the straightaway. It'll still suck.
Oh yeah, now I can see the slicks, and yeah, he's struggling to get down the straightaway in the slick tires. Definitely kicking himself. Let's give a little airtime to our guys in the back before we get back onto the fight. HCC here struggling on the slicks, but nothing to lose here. He's a couple of laps down. He's 15 seconds ahead of Wreckage to hang on to a top 5 and then get a classification finish. I don't know that he's worried about that so much. He's a stock car driver over here moonlighting, but in the dry spots, he's probably quick. Wreckage making his, as HCC goes wide there, Wreckage making his series debut. Raced Camel GT a couple times this season. Saw him at the Le Mans practice for next Saturday. We'd love to get you guys on board for that. The Petit Le Mans, the inaugural Petit Le Mans for SCL next week. Next Saturday night.
One thing I'm looking at, the timings is HCC's best lap time is really deceiving there. He got that because of the shorter distance it takes to get on the pit road.
Yeah, I gotcha.
He's still struggling on those tires.
Wreckage there, just trying to run it out. Has a shot at running down HCC, particularly since HCC is on
the slicks, and if he can catch them, that's a classification finish. About another 13 seconds behind them. Rosta, you just can't say enough. Guy came in leading the championship points, fresh off the win. He gambled, didn't pay off, but you know, he gambled and he won last week, and we'll try to get a word with him after the race. But you got a feel for the guy. And then in the back, several laps down, official 467, who has blown up in every race he's tried to make this season in any series. So to see him perhaps get a finish and get, you know, a championship point would be, you know, get him in the books would be a very nice thing to see as he courteously gets out of the way. We have nobody real close on the track except for Wreck Edge kind of reeling in HCC. We'll keep an eye on that. But we'll go back to the front as Tiernizzle now turning it around on its PT. I think what Tier's doing is he's monitoring his tire temps. They get warm. He's hitting some puddles, cooling them off, using the dry part of the track, going back, cooling them off. As long as you do that, they won't marble, and you'll be in pretty good shape. And he's definitely not pitted.
I think at this point in the race, no one else is gonna go for the slicks. Even if the track were to get completely dry, just because of the fact how much time you'd lose going and switching the tires anyways. I could be wrong, but I do believe that everyone that has not pit is going to keep it that way.
And we do have the read of their onboard fuel. We don't point that out. You guys can see that as we go through. But won't say it over the air because we don't want drivers who are monitoring it to get an edge on somebody else. But for the viewers, we'll cycle through it real quick. You can see everybody's pretty much where they're at there. But can't say enough for Tiernizzle. Came out here, not the best conditions. I think he wanted the pole, didn't get it. But he's come out here in the race and just you know, torn it up. He's gone out. He's won a Camel GT championship. He's trying to claim a Formula One championship, and it looks like he's about to do it. He's got 9 laps to go at the line, with laps significantly faster than the rest of the field at the moment.
Stuff can always happen, though.
Absolutely. It's only 10 seconds. That's only one spin. We're back on here with PT. PT, the pole sitter, really has had a good performance, and he hasn't had a major off. He's just in the current conditions. When it was raining, I think PT had the best car. But as the track has dried, it's come to Tiernizzle and gone away from PT. But PT was very impressive early on in the race. If the forecast had been a little different, I think he could have ran away with this one. But as it is, he's still in line to get a very solid finish. And it's by far from over, although as you can see, Tiernizzle opening up that gap. It's now up to 11.5 seconds. Jump on board with Callie as he came in with a shot at the title. A little talk about, well, we got some downtime, Twindy, about what we got here later on today. 3 p.m. Eastern, so about 45 minutes from now, we'll have the qualifying open for the Brickyard 400, round 9 of 10 in the Winston Cup Series. The championship can be clinched by Hossack today with a decent finish. I'd have to look at the points to tell you exactly what, but he's got a bit of a points lead, and he can clinch his first Winston Cup championship today. We've got next week the finale will be the Southern 500, the rescheduled Southern 500, and also Petite Le Mans. And the weekend after that is the Valvoline runoffs for the club class championships, and that'll conclude season 22. And then we'll have about a month off as we prepare for Daytona Speed Week season 23. But it's been a fantastic season. Thank everybody who's come out and made it possible. Congratulations to all of our champions so far that have been crowned. Once again, jump on board here with on the camera, put the camera on Muttley. Go ahead and let it do some rotating views since we don't have any close battles on the track at the present moment. Wreckage did get by HCC, by the way, and take 5th place as we missed that. I'm sure HCC is struggling with those tires. But Muttley, terrific run. He's going to hang on here for 7 more laps, and he can, you know, walk away with a 4th place finish and 3 championship points.
Looks like we had another retiree.
All right, somebody's off the track. That's HCC, I believe, riding around in the on the slicks. Decided to park it. That's our 2nd retiree of the race. So we've got 7 left. Still a possibility for Rosta to get into the top 5. 19 seconds back from Wreck Edge, but I don't know if Rosta. We'll have to take a look at Rosta and see if he's still on the. I think he went back to rain tires. At least it looks like it. Let me get on board with him here and see. Yeah, it looks like he's on rain tires. I don't see anybody on slicks anymore.
With his lap times he's been running, I'm pretty sure he's still on the slicks.
Yeah, it might just not be showing it here on my graphic.
Yeah, and I believe that SMS made it that way. You know, you can't tell when
somebody switches
watching,
tires.
You can't tell if someone switches tires. That way, you know, people can't relay information and stuff. But which makes sense, you know.
Yeah. Not too bad. I mean, that's not something that bothers me, but yeah, you're right. He probably is still on the slicks and just trying to ride it out. The track is drying, but it's not dry. And I think that...
Well, the biggest problem is still that straightaway. If that straightaway would have ever gotten dry, I think the risk would have paid off, but it's still... It's almost because that straightaway is in a little bit of a... It almost makes a little bit of a valley, so all the water kind of just went into there and nothing you could have done about it.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, Rosta, he made a gamble last week. He pitted early, came in, got the tires. That was the advantage that won him the race. And he tried it again this week, and it didn't pay off. But, hey, where he was at, he had gotten caught in a battle for 4th, lost time there, you know, was watching the cars in front of him. He decided to make a gamble. You can't blame him. As quickly as Tiernizzle has taken off, it's, you know, it's almost a moot point. But as we're still on board here with Muttley, who's been very impressive today, and moving up into top 5 is Wreck Edge. He fought his way through after HCC and Roast have had trouble. There's still about 30 seconds as Wreck Edge goes off the track there. As he spins it again, and you never know, Rosta might be able to run him down and pick up 5th place to solidify his spot in the points. And we'll give some airtime here to Official, who's running it out here in 7th. He's several laps down. If I check my timings here, I'll tell you how many. 4 laps down at the moment, but, you know, guy who wasn't at practice all week finishes the race. Give him all the credit in the world. Toughing it out to get to the finish, and will score a championship point. As Tiernizzle is going to take the 5 to go signal at the line. He just crossed it with a little less than 6 laps to go now. Continues to run the fastest laps. The drier the track gets, the faster he's going. The fuel load's burning off. He's still on the wets. There's plenty of water, especially through that section right there, to keep the tires cool.
Well, looking at the forecast, it does look like it's possible that it could start raining a little bit again, which I think it's too late for it to make any sort of difference, but the possibility's there.
Yeah, with just a few laps left to go, I don't know that it's going to make enough of a puddle. PT was obviously the quickest car in the full-on rain, but it just hasn't worked out his way here, as Tiernizzle has opened up a 20-second gap. You just can't say enough for the guy. He's going to claim a world championship if he completes these last 5 laps, and he's earned it. He goes by Rosta again, I believe. Rosta just struggling with that car. would have been real interesting. Rosta's been picking up speed all season. If the track